Greetings traders, this is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for August the 31st to September the 4th, 2020. So what else can you say? The market is firing on all cylinders at this point. SPYs and Qs made fresh all-time highs, and the Dow now is not far behind. You really have to do a bit of work to actually find things that are not working in this market. And we'll certainly, at this end of this video, we'll talk about the stars and dogs, and we'll kind of reconfirm what's working and what hasn't been working. But at this point here, the market is really flying to the upside. A lot of names had technical breakouts this past week, and it's concerning because, of course, when you have everything working, at a certain point, you have to wonder, is anyone have they already been invested? And if so, where are fresh buyers going to come in? So that's something we need to look out for. By this point here now, the trend is higher. It has continued to be up, and as I've been saying since it feels like forever now, the trend, basically every pullback has been a buyable opportunity. You'd certainly see a lot of traders who still do not believe in the trend of this market, and they're getting scared as we hit fresh all-time highs. So you have a lot of traders who are kind of trading scared. They're worried about the top being put in, and the reality is that in these markets, and anytime you have trends like this, you have to let it ride. That's one of the lessons that you have to learn in trending markets is you have to let it ride until it stops working. That's basically the gist of it is, the trend is your friend until the end. And if you want to maximize your profits, you have to be okay with giving back a bit of money at the end of the trend. And there's really no other way to play it, because if you play sort of half scared, that is, you kind of half in, half out, you're not going to get the results that are possible versus just being okay with taking the loss at the end of the trend. Unfortunately, a lot of folks, they're kind of a bit gun shy, or maybe they got burnt earlier in the year, and this has caused them to get out early and have to chase and get back in again because they don't trust the trend. So ultimately, the trend continues to be up, and we'll get to the charts and talk about that in a few moments. So let's talk about the econ and earnings calendar. So first off, earnings calendar, slower week, but we do have a number of names still reporting. One thing to be aware of, though, is that we do have, stateside anyways, and in Canada, we do have Labor Day coming up on September the 7th. So it is a day off in the markets. So this week, historically, it tends to be a little bit slower, as some in the past, anyways. Is not this is a kind of an outlier in terms of a year, but historically, a lot of big traders, a lot of folks who work in the institutional world, they tend to be on summer vacation still. And they'll usually be gone in the Hamptons or elsewhere going into this Labor Day. So usually Friday or the 4th is typically fairly slow. This week, this is not a normal year, so let's not use that as a roadmap for where things are going to go, but certainly something to be aware of, as traditionally not a very, very busy end of week, especially. But earnings wise, kind of slower week. Monday, not a lot. Zoom will be interesting. ZM, that will be one to watch. That's been a high flying stock. Let's see what happens with that one. Then on Tuesday, sort of a slower earnings calendar. Only 8 names reporting there, from what I can tell. Wednesday, we do have a busier week, so we do have a bunch of enterprise software companies, some tech names, some SaaS companies. They're reporting in there things like CrowdStrike, Cloudera, Mongodb, Zuo, Smart, so SMAR. These will all be interesting high beta tech names to watch. Thursday, we got DocU, another good tech name to watch. MOMO, so Momo, if I want to look at, if I want to trade. And YEXT, another tech company worth watching, worth trading. In terms of the earnings calendar, let's go into that one for now for a quick second. So on the 4th September, so Monday, it starts off pretty quiet, so we don't have anything going on until ISO number at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Nothing too special there. Really, the only thing of notable, worth watching is Thursday's jobless claims number. So this past week, jobless claims came in back above a million again. So that was above expectation, right? So we had that one blip 2 weeks ago where we had a number that was below a million, and people got enthusiastic about that. Well, guess what? The number this week was higher than expected. That means more people filed for jobs claims than expected. What do you think the market did? Did it go down or up? That's right, it went up. That's what I've been saying for a while now. But you want to see bad numbers if you want to be long the stock market. You want to see it's the sad nature of well, it's not sad, but it's the true nature of the markets is that where we are right now, the narrative is people want the Fed to continue to support and accommodate the markets with low interest rates. So good numbers are actually bad for the stock market, and bad numbers continue to be good. So we want to see that jobless claims number, if you're long, to continue to be above 1 million. And this past week we got that. It was above 1 million once again, and this means that the Fed is in no hurry to fight inflation. On the 4th, we do have the employment situation. So that monthly number on the 4th, on Friday, that will be the final big item on the calendar. So with that being said, let's jump into the charts now, talk about the coming week and how that could play out with the new week and the new month. So as we always do, let's begin with the VIX chart and high level stuff first, out the gate with the VIX and the SPY chart, and then we'll, as we always do, we'll fast forward a bit because the indices for the most part and the other assets that I usually cover, they're all very, very correlated, and the charts look very, very similar with some notable exceptions, and I'll talk about those as we move forward here. But VIX-wise, big picture, right? This is what we've been talking about for a long time now. So this was the possibility, right? So we saw that the outside-inside got put in last quarter. We saw the inside quarter get put in. It was slowly, remember, back in Q2, we had a huge Q1 spike here, especially in March. But beginning April, the question was, how are you going to get outside of this range, Q1's range? And the reality was that you weren't going to get outside of that range inside of that quarter. We had talked about that. I had talked about that specifically and saying this is probably going to be an inside quarter. And then how does it break? Inside or upside? And clearly we opened here, so the easier choice was to break to the downside. The easier probability was to break to the downside, and that's what it did. Broke to the downside, and now it's coming back towards that pivot there. That's the question, is can it get down to here, or does VIX remain elevated because of elections coming out in November? For now, it's Momo down though. So it's momentum down, continues to be Momo down. Outside bar down, down. It's Momo down on the monthly chart. That does not change, right? I think this is going to require. So if this changes, this has not changed yet. So I'm saying we have a new month now coming up, September. This is when you know the picture and the sentiment has changed. If this high gets taken out, this high is that red line right there. If that line gets taken out right there, then that's a Momo up situation. That's what you definitely want to pay attention to that. So for now, I'm not going to use that color. I'm going to use orange to signify our monthly levels. And that's what a larger reversal will look like on the monthly chart. It will be a Momo down reversal. That's what I'm calling it. Basically an outside bar down, down. Take out this pivot high here. That'll be a Momo down, because it's the Momo down reversal if it takes out that pivot high. Okay, so Momo down reversal to the long side if that pivot high gets taken out. You want to know if that happens, because that will change the picture of the chart significantly. For now, here's the interesting thing that happened on this past week. We have an outside bar now on the VIX chart. So something you got to begin to pay attention to, because we did see the increase in volatility. That is a bit uncommon because we had 4 consecutive weeks of lower lows with no higher highs until the last few days of the VIX, last few days of the week, excuse me. We had an outside bar down, that was Momo down, that went for how many weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of lower highs and lower lows, okay, except for that week that was an inside bar, but you know what I'm saying, it was 5 weeks of lower lows. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. This week was a lower low, but did not break the upside, so we actually only had 4 weeks of lower highs and 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of lower lows. Very, very clear now. So this is the interesting pattern here, was that, the question was how long is it going to go for? Because that's Momo down. How long does it go for? This week got extinguished. So that finally extinguished the Momo down scenario, but it doesn't mean you go long right away. If you watch these videos, you know now the outside bars now simply has printed. Now you not need to watch and see what that next bar is. So we're going to paint the picture now, and we now have our ranges. So we break to the upside, that's Momo up. We break to the downside, it's a continuation of that Momo down move, and you can go inside as well, right? So that will be something to watch for. If it goes Momo up, right, it goes outside bar up, then next week it has to keep going, right? Otherwise, if it goes outside bar up and then comes back down again below, below wherever it opens up here, you're gonna have full time frame alignment back to the downside again, and then you could possibly come back up the other end. So that's what you want to watch for. Momo down, it has to keep going. Otherwise, Momo down pops back up. It might still hit some resistance here because you still have this quarterly open right there now. But as it stands, even with this green bar here, the weekly, my bias is still to the short side because you have your quarterly open right there and the monthly open right there. There's no proof yet that the buyers are in control of the VIX. It doesn't show up here yet. We need to see the next bar. If this thing goes Momo up and you start breaking above the this orange line, so now you're green on the month, then the next stop is that purple, that's that blue line there to test that quarterly open. But for now, until you start breaking these significant levels, the bias, even though this bar is green, is still to the downside. 23 right there, that green line is still open. That's an unfilled gap, has not been closed yet, so watching for that. So we had some pretty fun action here on the VIX this past week. It was actually quite interesting. It was, if you understand price action, there was a really good setup. And I was talking about this in the room, in the chat room that I host. I'm talking to some traders about the setup that happened. It was on Friday. Was that Friday? Thursday, excuse me. On Thursday, and then the continuation move on Friday. So it was a really nice setup because going into the week here, what we saw was we already know we had Momo down on the week, right? So we had plenty of reasons to be bearish on the VIX. So my expectation was that we're going to hit, get this 23 level taken out. But when price doesn't confirm, you have to be flexible enough to change your opinion. It doesn't mean like you switch your entire bias around, but it simply means that you're open to other things happening, and then you respond appropriately. You don't want to get so fixated in this one approach that you cannot take trade signals that are happening on other time frames. So, I was short going into the previous week. I think I covered in this area here on Monday because this is not the action I want. I do not want to see a gap down is nice, but as I've said in the past, if you gap down, you have to keep going. You do not want to see a scenario where the buyers are able to push back in the range again, because that shows you that the sellers, they got everything they wanted and they couldn't keep it down there. So as soon as it comes back up, I'm out. I don't want to be in the scenario where you have a they call it a red dog reversal or gap reversal, or this play out where you have this here inside bar down, right? That's actually a gap down. They fill it, and then the next day they do an inside bar reversal, enough to take out that pivot high, excuse me. So they did inside bar reversal, they took out that high. Now, at this point here, it was a green day here, right? It's a nice move here because it stopped out. People got short again, right? They got short again here, and they took out these guys here. So anyone got short, came down, they stopped out these guys, and they popped it back up again. And then you had a big move on Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday had a plus 3% move. It was actually probably closer to 7% at some point, maybe a little higher, 8%, and then they faded it at the top here. So what's the signal here, right? So here's a really nice scenario of how it played out here. Is that, look, this bar here could not take out the weekly low, could not close below it. Took it out, broke below the Monday's low, but they bought it back right away, and so it kept the weekly bar green. Okay, so there's your weekly bar to the green side. So on the intraday front, now here's what it looked like, because on Thursday we had a big ramp on the 30-minute chart. So this is what it looks like on the VIX chart now. And I've already drawn that broad information, but I'm going to hide it for a second here, just so you see what I see. So I want to hide those broad informations. So here, what happened in this scenario here is, this is the run up into Thursday. So anytime you get into the Bollinger Bands here, right? Watching these videos, these are Bollinger Band walks. So it has to keep going, right? So here, it starts to do the Bollinger Band walk, it pops down. It goes inside bar, down. That's actually an inside bar reversal right there. That's a buy signal. And it jumps back to the Bollinger Bands, and it starts doing the walk. Okay, so it does the walk, and it breaks below the walk here, and you can see it's faded. So it fades that move now, and now it's just come back to the range. So if you're into intraday trading, here's a 5-minute chart. And here's the move. So this big move that kicks off the Bollinger Band walk starts here. Okay, outside, inside, there's one of our favorite patterns that triggers this move into the upper Bollinger Band walk. So now you have you have a Bollinger Band walk going on the 5-minute chart, and you have a Bollinger Band walk going on the 30-minute chart. Here's the reversal right there. Inside bar up, and it breaks to the downside right there. Inside bar reversal to the downside. Okay, so that's your signal right there. That's just pure price action. Now you layer in some other understanding. So there's the actual signal right there. You can have taken on the 5, take a really good low risk entry, because you're only risking this amount here, this area here, or you can go to the 30-minute chart and look for, you know, a longer time frame trade. Right? So this one here doesn't work for much, but still, I'd still be open. I'd still be short this trade if I was taking the 30-minute chart because it hasn't broken back above that pivot high yet. But here's the understanding when you layer all the pieces together. So now you understand the 5-minute time frame, the 30-minute time frame, and here's the weekly time frame. The weekly level. So let me turn this back on, the drawings back on. So where do you think this peaked out at? Okay, where do you think that peaked out at? Let's draw it back in here. So let me turn on the drawings back on. Boom. Now I did move the lines around earlier. If you recall, I moved the lines around earlier. So let me move the lines back again really quickly because I redrew our ranges. So I'll take this purple line. It was drawn back here 2 weeks ago, right? Because that was the high of 2 weeks ago. So where do you think that 30-minute level? Yes, where do you think it took out? Yes, that pivot right there, right? So that high was the high from 2 weeks ago. Okay, so that's the stops that they were gunning after, that area right there. And so then inevitably it creates the broadening formation because this high now, if this high sticks, this high is higher than that high because it was a liquidity move. They stopped out anyone who was short from up there and put their stops up there. They stopped them out, and now it's coming back through the range. So you're coming back through the range, and if this trade works, and if this high sticks, that means it doesn't break above here, you're coming out the other end, taking out that low there. All right, so that's hard to see on the 30-minute chart if you're not used to it. But here, I'll make it very obvious what happened there. Look at the daily chart. This is the understanding of price action. Great, fantastic lesson. This high here takes out that high there. That's the 2-week high, right? Guess what kind of bar that is? Yeah, it's an outside bar. So the outside bars, been watching these videos, you know these are broadening formations. These are fractal broadening formations, and so all points and purposes is that there's a very likely chance you're going to get that pivot taken out. And that's what happened. This guy took out that guy. And now we draw in our pivots. That high is higher than that high, and this low here is lower than these subsequent lows here. Right? You can draw it, there's many ways to draw it. You can certainly draw it like this as well. But I'm just trying to connect the dots here so you can see it more clearly. Now, if it works, correct, this high doesn't get taken out, we're coming back through this side. If we get it this coming week, on Monday or Tuesday, whenever it happens, if this low gets taken out, we're going after that pivot right there. That's a simple daily inside bar down move to the downside, and then I probably like to take out that pivot and create a new lower low, and then 23 is back in play again. So very, very nice move there. If it's a very good example of price action across time frames and understanding, what drives markets: liquidity, stops, and of course, the fact that the markets move in broadening formations. This is why the higher highs and the lower lows oftentimes confuse people, or having lower lows with lower highs. So that's a typical trend, but in this case here you have higher highs and you have lower lows. So that definitely tricks and flips up most people who don't understand what's actually happening there. All right, so that's our the quick price action lesson on the VIX. I couldn't help but share that one with you this week because it's such a nice trade. I didn't take that one myself, but I was long. I was seeing it play out, but I was long a bunch of other names. I just I was managing my positions accordingly. That means I wasn't going to take off my longer positions without seeing this pattern work itself out. Okay, so let's go on to the things to watch now. So this coming week, here we go. 2-day chart on the VIX. You got this outside inside now forming. How does that guy break? If it goes outside inside and down, what that means, we're going to the lows there. And on the 4-hour chart, you even have this. It's already started. All right. Inside bar up, inside bar reversal happens on Friday afternoon. So they're starting to fade it already. It already did the inside bar reversal. So the buyers try to pop back up again. They could not take out the prior pivot high, and now they come back into the range again, possibly out the other side. That's what we want to watch for. Right? So now we can redraw our ranges. The weekly high is this high there, and that's what we want to watch for. Okay, let's move on to the SPY now. So that was a very nice trade on the VIX setting up there. And here's the SPY. So on the SPY wise, this is the last long time frame chart I'll do, and then we'll fast forward a bit. So SPY outside, inside, and up, all-time highs now on the SPY. And no more clear than that, right? We're asking for that. We got that pivot high now. Now it's all blue sky. The question is, once again, one of investor sentiment, trading sentiment. how far does this thing go? At this point here, it looks like it's firing on all cylinders, even though there is a negative divergence between the underlying stocks and the index. It doesn't mean that things can't go a lot further than people think. So at this point here, as long as the buyers keep stepping up, there's no reason to get short this market. Okay, so here, look at this. Just to, I'll say it very clearly here. Look, inside bar, up, 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 up. This is the monthly chart. We've had 4 months now of consecutive higher highs. 4 months. Okay, so this means every dip has been a buyable opportunity. Weekly. Okay, inside bar, up, up, up. 4 consecutive weeks of higher highs. We are hitting the Bollinger Band here now. So this is a little iffy because it has to keep going. So let's see how that plays out. You might get a week that pulls back a bit and kind of, needs a bit of consolidation here. But let's see how that plays out. Our ranges we want to watch for is that we are going into a brand new week, right? So, and a brand new month. So in order for a bigger reversal to happen, like I said in last week's video, we need to see this week's low get taken out. So this week, somehow we go pop up and all the way down and create an outside bar, or we just basically go down like this and gap down and keep going, then that's the level you want to see get taken out if you're short. Then you got to turn the month red. The month is going to so that's a mistake. I shouldn't have said that. The monthly level is going to move. So this is actually why it's easier for the bears to take advantage of things at the beginning of the month, because now we have our month in, right? The issue here is that we got a really, really big month that has to be negated, reversed on. So here we're going to open up somewhere in here, I imagine, on Monday, right? So in order for the sellers to really take control, they got to take out, that's right, they got to take out August lows. So here's the low of August, right down here, 327.73. Somehow the sellers have to find a way to bring it all the way down there, take out that low, to possibly put the quarter lay open at risk. That's a lot of selling that has to happen, and if you see that kind of selling, you're going to be ready for it, because it's not gonna happen out of the blue. They have to come through a lot of range. So you'll have that heads up as the sellers, if the sellers can take it, start to take control. You'd see it has to go through a lot of selling. So don't worry, you're not going to be late to selling if you miss the initial move on the daily chart or the weekly chart. The monthly chart has to turn red too in order for a really big reversal to happen. Okay, so there's your weekly levels, your monthly levels, and here's something to watch on the 2-day chart. It is now Momo up on the 2-day. So from a higher time perspective, let's blow out some of these lines here. On 2-day chart, it's Momo up. We've had 6 consecutive days now, so basically 1, 2, 3 2-day bars with higher highs. So you basically, if you want to see how far momentum can take things, you want to see one of these lows get violated. You need to see a low get violated, because look back here. This is back in July 29th. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive bars, 2-day bars, that had higher highs. Do you think it made sense to get short in here? No, you got run over, right? You got run over. Then you finally got a little blip there. That outside bar didn't mean anything in the long run, because then it basically kicked back up again once that high got taken out. Went outside bar up. So people got stopped out here, right? There's a little blip here. People got stopped out. And, once the move recommenced again, look, it was a gap up. People had to chase, because anyone who got stopped out here, they had to get back in if they wanted to be long the SPY. That means they had to chase this, and now we got a new Momo up move on the SPY. Let's see how far this goes. The last one went 7 bars. This one here is currently at 3. So how far can this Momo bar move? Momo up move go? Here's another one, right? Momo up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. We're currently at 3. So let's see how far that one goes. This is very aggressive. So this one here, when we had that selling, it wasn't a pure Momo move here, because we did have that reversal right there. But when inside bar down again, so that was a significant. You can just see the angle of descent on the sell-off back in February. It was very aggressive. February, early March. All right, so that's the SPY. We're looking at the 2-day now. Momo up move to see how far that takes things. To see how far this Momo move goes. Now let's go Qs a little faster now. Qs. Believe it or not, 5 consecutive months of higher highs on the monthly chart. Don't need to spell that out. It's in a bull market. Weekly chart, 2 consecutive higher highs on the weekly bars after this Momo up, a Momo hammer, right? So the hammer, this one looks scary for a second because it was an inside bar reversal for some people, but they bought it back right away, okay? And then you know where it is now. And this one I'm watching for here on the daily chart. Here we have basically Momo up on the Qs on the daily chart. You know how many days? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of higher highs, and on Friday closed inside day. The underlying was very, very bullish on Friday. We had tons of NASDAQ stocks flying, especially in the SaaS enterprise software and cloud space. Those guys were flying on Friday. So even though we had an inside bar on Qs, there was no reason to bet against the Qs on Friday. So how far does this Momo up move now take the Qs? I'm watching for that on the daily chart. So that means on the 2-day chart, you also got the Momo up move right there. Same thing as the Dow. As the SPY. Momo up, inside bar for the 2-day chart. Dow trying to hit those all-time highs, not far away now. Let's see, based on Friday's highs, we are now 3.2% away roughly from those all-time highs. So my bet is that we're still going to hit those all-time highs in the Dow, and perhaps after we hit all-time highs, maybe we do a pullback. Again, wait and see. But at this point, some of the Dow components are looking very, very strong. The Triple M's of the world, the DuPonts, a lot of these names, the Northrops of the world, the Cats, they're all looking quite strong. So some of these names are definitely picking up. Obviously you have the Apples and the Microsofts of the world. That part of the Dow can put this part of the Dow, and CRM is joining the Dow as well. So weekly chart this past week. Look at this price action. So you get a monthly inside bar up on the Dow, right? So that's a strong move. That's a breakout, inside bar up. You got a breakout this past week after a very slow week on the prior, right? So you wonder why are things working so well this past week. Was because we had range expansion across pretty much all the indices. We had inside bars and up on the Dow, on the weekly chart, and on the Russell, and they're all working. We have an inside bar up on the monthly as well. So inside bar up on the month, inside bar up on the weekly. Unfilled gap right there, 288.04, got really close. And we had inside bar up here on the daily chart. So it just at this point here, people are just buying. It's breakouts. It's breakout time. So yeah, 288.04 right there. Expect that one to get filled sooner than later. Okay, so that's the Dow. And again, just keep my eyes on this. So if the sellers step up, in this new month, they'd have to reverse the current price action. They could do that by doing an inside bar reversal on the weekly chart. So if somehow the sellers can basically reverse this past week's price action, so it goes down over 2.65% this coming week, it takes out this past week's low, that will create an inside bar reversal, and you will have not only a red week, but because price is going to open up somewhere around here, if it breaks to the downside, then you're going to have a red month as well. So now you're going to have mixed time frames. If it goes red week, red month, the other thing green is going to be the green quarter. So now you're going to have time frame conflicts, and then you can get real choppy in here if that starts to play out. So that's something you're going to watch out for. Again, on Monday, how it's going to play out. Again, I'll just address it more clearly here. On Monday, this is what I'll be looking for. So on Monday, we know with our levels, if it breaks below this low here, the prior week's low, that's an inside bar reversal on the weekly chart. So let's say on Monday you open up in here, in this area here. I'm gonna just assume for a second that we don't have a huge gap up or a huge gap down. We just basically open up, basically where we closed on Friday. So at this point here, you have a brand new week, right? So this brand new week, let's say you open up here and it stays around this area, and it trades slightly above where it opens on Monday. So it creates a green week. Now you have on Tuesday, right, a new month. So that's when you really want to watch and see how price transacts in relation to the weekly open and the monthly open. So when I say that price has to basically reconfirm, it simply means you want to see, right, does price stay above that weekly open, or does it break below? Because if it breaks below, that automatically creates the red week and the red month, and then you get that situation I talked about where you're going to have those mixed time frames because you got the quarterly open down here. So that would obviously mean that the mid to shorter time frame, shorter time frames are red, but then the longest time frame is green. So the short to medium intermediate traders are more short, more bearish than the longer term guys, and that's something you need to watch out for, because that's when you can create that mixed time frame alignment. And then you have to let's see how that plays out, because if the trending starts to get very tight, then it's just simply a bunch of consolidation. Okay, so that's something to watch out for this coming week for Dow. We know our levels. Same thing with the Russell. It's the same thing playing out here. Inside bar up on the Russell. It actually went inside bar here on the week, so it didn't get that big range. That's even more. So I actually thought we did have an inside bar up on the week, but looking at the chart now, I see so it was actually just an inside week, very, very tight. So that makes it very clear for us anyways. It's actually nicer because now we know very clearly what we need to look for. That is, does price break above the prior week's high? That's, a breakout to the upside basically. And or does it break to the downside? And we get more weakness from the downside because the Russell has been the weakest of the bunch. But for now, on the monthly chart, right, we have this range, the August range. If we can somehow break below August lows, so it comes back and breaks this 6.62% up bar to the downside, that creates an inside bar reversal on the Russell. And then that's interesting because if that breaks down and breaks below here, they're going to go after that pivot there. And that's going to make a red quarter if it gets back below this blue line. That's when you have to start watching out and saying, okay, you might have full time from line to the downside on the Russell, and then you have to start being suspect of the other indices. For now, Russell holding strong, but it has to hold that monthly low. If it doesn't, that's definitely a big, big red flag. I'll be watching that moving forward. TSX grinding higher. Not much going on there, but it's just doing its grind higher. So it's still 4 consecutive months of higher highs. Look how tight the ranges are. That's so tight, but it's just grinding higher. It's a little iffy here because this will not take much for a reversal to happen to basically negate all these gains. So it's tight stuff, but you can't get short either because it's just squeezing people. So it's just inside bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of consecutive higher highs, right? So it's just grinding higher over the course of the summer. So TSX, not a lot to do there. You kind of got this Momo up scenario here. Momo up, even though you have some red bars. But if you break below there, Friday's low, then they're gonna basically reverse and try to get back below this Momo up move. So that'll be a Momo up reversal move if we can take out Friday's lows. So watch for that. TSX. EM though acting real strong. So the emerging markets, man, inside up 4 consecutive months higher highs. I like this chart because look, it's getting close to taking out that pivot. Outside inside, we've been calling this one for a while. This is one of the first ones to actually trigger. Very close to taking out that 46.32 area. That's what I'd be watching for right now. We got up to 45.56. Once you get up there, that's a significant level. Where does it go from there? That's the question. Now, on the weekly chart, you have Momo up on the weekly. So this is a nice move here. Really tight action 2 weeks ago, inside bar. Then went expansion, and now it's off the races. Momo up on EM. You definitely want to get your EM exposure, your Asian market exposure with those Chinese ADRs. Lots of them have been flying. So we'll talk more about those in the fast fire section. So Momo up on the Asian stocks, very clear levels. You do not want to see that low get taken out if you're into those Chinese ADR names, because that would signify that Momo move has been extinguished. You need more pay more attention there at that point. TLT, a little chop city here, but the buyers are no longer in control of the TLT. We've got a bit of a reversal signal here on the monthly chart, but it is an outside bar. So August ends the month outside bar. Now you got to wait and see how does it break that outside bar. Do we get that Momo down scenario, or does it somehow stay in the range, or it breaks back higher? That's what you're looking for here on the TLT product. On the long bond, this is it's been fading slowly. We had that Momo up move that lasted a couple of weeks, then went outside bar and Momo down now. This is a little tricky here because they actually played to the upside a bit before they faded it and broke to the downside, trapping some guys there and then forcing them to have to cover. So now TLT is actually full time frame alignment to the downside. Look, below the quarterly, below the monthly level. You got a new month coming up here now, so this is where it gets interesting for TLT. Did they continue to sell off bonds? That means the yields are going higher, right? So if the prices of bonds are going down, the yields are going higher. Think about that. What's that signify? Outside bar down, they got the Momo move already kicking off here on the daily as well as the 2-day chart. It's Momo down already, so we've already established that it's been a multi-day move here on the 2-day chart. So how far does it go? We're watching that momentum bar now, seeing how far it goes. Because remember, last week or 2 weeks ago, we had the Momo down move already. It already started here, and we were wondering how far it was going to take it. And here it got extinguished. It was a Momo up reversal long to the upside. The problem is that you have you don't have time frame alignment. The monthly bar is right there, the high, and so this did not work very far, right? Moved a little bit, but then it ran into a bunch of resistance here, and you had that red month, and the seller stepped back up again the first 2 days of the trading week, and just basically went Momo back down again. So TLT right now, Momo's to the downside. So the question is, how far does that Momo take it? Yeah, that's watch for that, because this is potentially Momo down. Look, it's already Momo down daily, Momo down 2 day. If it breaks below this past week's low, that's Momo down on the weekly. That would also be Momo down on the month. So what does that mean? And again, I'm not one to try to ascribe to of trying to figure out the markets in real time. Sometimes you need to wait for time. You need the time to digest things and for clear minds to figure out what the larger ramifications are. But certainly TLT is setting up for something interesting here. The broader ramifications are TBD, to be determined. MGC, so gold now, micro gold futures. Let's see how that's been going. It had a bit of pullback this past week, but the buyer stepped up in the second half of the week. So we still got the Momo up move on gold, right? So Momo up on the gold product. It's got it's 2 consecutive months of higher highs. We had that pullback. That 2 weeks ago was a strong pullback, down 3.86%. Inside bar, they tried to go inside bar down, but they bought it back. Look, right off that 8-period moving average. And now, if they can break above this past week's high, that's an inside bar reversal, possibly taking gold back up to these all-time highs again. Because, well, it's not all-time highs, but I think it's multi-year highs for the MGC product anyways. Because we have a new month coming, right? So wherever it opens up here, if it can transact above that opening level, that's going to be green quarter, green month, obviously green week. So you go inside bar and reversal up, and it's going to take up that pivot right away, and then possibly higher levels up. So gold right now looking very strong. We're watching to see how this possible inside bar reversal gets triggered. Okay, for now the daily chart, look at this, Momo up on the daily. Okay, we had a Momo up right there on the daily, and on the 2-day chart, look, it's outside inside, and outside inside setting up on the 2-day chart. That pivot looks really juicy. That pivot right there, that's an outside bar. So if that gets taken out, we already know that's going to create the inside bar reversal, because that's the level right here that's going to trigger the that level right there, the purple line is what triggers the previous week's high. That'll create the inside bar reversal. Okay, so let's redraw this one, because that's our monthly levels, the orange lines. So there we go, not too confused about that. So there we go. Now let's tackle Bitcoin. Bitcoin taking a bit of a break, a bit of a breather, like gold did, but the buyers just like gold. Man, the Bitcoin's trading, very high correlations to gold right now. Let's see if I can find the Bitcoin product here, BTC USD on Bitfinex. That's what I trade on personally, or the majority of my transactions on my trading accounts in Bitfinex. So here we go. Okay, here's the thing with Bitfinex. So big picture for a second. We do have the outside, inside, and up on the quarterly chart. Okay, we've been talking about this for a while. This thing is, the pattern still the upside. It did take out that pivot high from Q1. So now you're going after that pivot high right there, 13,174. If you take out that 13,174 area, guess what happens? 13,174. It gets closer and closer to going inside year and up on the 12-month chart, right? So the yearly chart is 13,764. So you're getting really close now to taking out the prior year's high. If that gets taken out, you can possibly go back to back to the 17,000s again, the 20,000s. So that looks like it's the possibility there. However, it's a failed breakout. If somehow they reverse it, we'll come back into the range again. That's what you need to watch out for Bitcoin, is that the buyers have to step up here, because that 13,174 is up there. 13,174. Sorry, this is the monthly chart right there. 13,174 right there. That's your level right there. That's July's highs, and here is your yearly highs. 13,764. Not far away. We got up to as far as 12,490. So Bitcoin's had a couple of had basically 2 red weeks. This week hasn't closed out yet, but right now it's red. We do have a lower low on Bitcoin, and you want to see here now. We have the pullback, and this is I kind of talked about this already, but I said Bitcoin's doing a Bollinger Band walk back a few weeks ago, and I said it has to keep going, otherwise it's going to pull back in. That's what it did. Couldn't hold above there. It's pulled back in. Now you see some conducive pullback buying. So here they defended that monthly level, that orange line, and they bought the pullback. And so now that's, this is what's setting up here now. Here on Bitcoin, you have an outside inside. So inside, outside, inside. Interesting pattern there. The only issue for me with that pattern, why I'm not taking it personally, is that you have mixed time frames. You got the monthly level down here. That's positive. We know that that level got defended, but the weekly opens right there as well. So we have new week showing up next or tomorrow, then the next day. So preferably, I would rather take the signal when the new week starts, because then the weekly open will be where it is around here, and that will be a clear signal. For now, you do have mixed time frames, and that means not everyone is on board. The reason why we try to get time frame alignment is because time frame alignment isn't some sort of abstract concept. What it basically means is when we use time frame alignment, and I'm looking at multiple time frames, like I look at when I look at the weekly, the monthly, the quarterly, and so forth, the daily, is that I'm looking at the spectrum of buyers and sellers. So each time frame is like a little window into the minds of each one of these participants. So you have different participants across different time frames, and by looking at time frames, we're able to see where and when these participants are getting involved. So when I can see, and when you can see, that the picture is very, very clear across all time frames, meaning, hey, the monthly chart looks good, the quarterly chart looks good, the weekly chart looks good, the daily, the 2-day, the 4-hour. If all those things are looking, green, and they are coming off of price action signals that are conducive to buying, then there's no reason that you would not be, following that trend, right? So because you know that every single buyer is stepping in at those, stepping in, and that's when you get, larger moves. When you have all time frames moving in alignment. That's just the nature of price, right? When all time frames are all buying at the same time, you get these wider, larger range moves. Now, the reason why you have oftentimes chop or you have consolidation is because on some time frame there is price discrepancies, right? You might have one time frame that's green, another that's red, and so you have that kind of stop and go mentality, where you have some investors who are hitting the gas, but you have other investors who are hitting the brakes, and you're not going to get those nice clean moves. So that's what we're looking for when doing this analysis, is identifying when price looks attractive to as many time frame participants as possible, to the short side or the downside. I don't care which direction it is, as long as we get a good read on what that is. So here I like this one more. Bitcoin on the 2-day chart, outside, inside. Preferably I like to get this thing to break tomorrow, preferably for tomorrow, but obviously the markets don't care about what I want, but that's my hope anyways, that it waits until tomorrow. We get one more day of consolidation here, and then that gets a very clean signal, because the weekly open will be wherever it is, the monthly will be wherever it is, and then if price breaks out of that, you're going to be above or below those weekly and monthly opens. Again, ideally it breaks to the upside, because we have the quarterly down here somewhere, and that just makes it a lot cleaner. We'll have full time frame alignment if that's the case, making that trade a lot more clean with all the wins to our sales, as all the time frame participants will be supporting that trade. All right, so let's talk about the coming week now. Here's some things that are on my watch list. There's so much stuff in play right now. It's kind of hard to filter it down. So I'm gonna, as always, I try to give you a sampling of things that I'm looking at, but it's more important that you understand the thought process on why I'm looking at these, rather than saying, okay, I gotta play this one because this is what he said on a Saturday or Sunday. Again, more important for you to be able to see these in real time and understand the thought process of what to look at and what to look for. So here I'll give you a couple ones that played out this past week and why these were of significance. Facebook was on the watch list, and it triggered and it worked, right? So here, double inside week, it was a break above the prior week's high right here, right? On Monday, it was off to the races. That means during the week, if you did not get in that initial pop on the weekly chart, during the week there was buying opportunities on Facebook. All right, so there's buying opportunities inside of these bars. If you can drill down on the lower time frames to get into that trade. Okay, so Facebook was very, very clean. You had multiple pullback opportunities to get into Facebook throughout the week. INTC, I got a long intel. I've been talking about this one for a little while now. Here, I need a weekly chart. It was a Momo down reversal here. I got long when it broke above this level. So this past week I was waiting for it to do its little dance here and to break back above here again, because it's basically been holding the monthly open. So long as it stays above this past week's low, I'm in Facebook with stock and options. Here's another one that's moving slowly. Waste management. Talked about this one last week. Inside bar reversal to the upside. That one worked very, very cleanly. I'm in that one on options. And again, that's the level you're looking for. Inside bar down up. And I use the lower time frame and to get into that trade. I use an hourly chart to get into that trade. Using the wider time frames, the higher time frames, to give you the wider direction, right? And making sure that we have that time frame line on our side. Green month, green week, obviously green quarter. Roku was one of the big winners this past week, and I was in that one myself. I missed the intraday entry. I missed the daily entry. It was because it was a bit tricky on Monday or Sunday. Yeah, Monday it was a bit tricky because it didn't pop until I think Tuesday. But here, Roku inside weekend up. Right, we've been watching this thing for a while now. How's it going to play out? Because it was a pullback into some support here, and once it broke above that high there, it was go time on Roku. So that guy there. Look at the that should be a purple line because that's a weekly level. Look at the chop on the daily chart. This is when you know things are going to pop. Right? Outside bar down. Chop, 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 chop. Right? On a Roku. And then finally, inside bar reversal. That triggers here. Because I was saying to one of the guys in the chat saying, you know, it popped on Wednesday. So yeah, so on Tuesday, on Monday, Tuesday, I was looking at it saying this, you know, these are potentially really, really good opportunities to get into Roku because if this signal triggers, it's off to the races. The issue is that the signal hasn't actually triggered yet. You're not going to get a signal on inside bar reversal until this high gets taken out. And I was saying in the chat, the issue is sometimes that, you know, they're going to gap it. With stocks is the fun part of stocks is that they have gaps. So if they gap it, people are going to have to chase. And that's what happened on Wednesday because anyone who wanted to get in here, get long, they missed that entry because, you know, you're buying here, you're buying basically when it's red. So, you know, you're buying here, the signals are not confirmed yet, and more than likely you're probably seeing on a red trade because, you know, price is very, very choppy that day unless somehow you nailed that bottom. More than likely you went into Wednesday a little bit red on that trade had you bought on on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, right, people piled in because there was a break, there was a gap up, broke above that range and people piled in, and you know what the rest of the story. Roku was up how much? 70% to end the week. So pretty nice week for Roku. And look at that pattern there. This high, is it higher than that one? 177.54. Yep. So that high there, higher than that high. That's your broad information. I don't know if you can see that or not, but basically creates your broad information. That high is higher than that high, and that low is higher than that low there. So that's just the nature of things. Expect those pivots to get taken out. So now let's talk about things for the coming week. What's interesting to me, we have some interesting names here. Bizan, so we're talking about how strong the Chinese ADRs have been. So here, this one looks interesting. Outside, inside on the week. Speaking of one that already triggered, so Baba has been on fire. So Baba, look at this, had a multi-week inside bar and then popped up. That thing's gone. Baidu, this one here I got into this past week as well. Outside, inside, and up. I do not want to see this low get taken out. So that low there, I do not want to see that taken out. Otherwise, I'm going to add this trade as it goes up. Here's TDC. I think we have earnings coming soon on TDC. Yeah, way down here though, not until November. So yeah, things passed. Inside, outside. So now looking for the expansion. This is Momo up right now. So if this thing breaks above this past week's high, it's a continuation of that Momo move. And so long as you don't break below this past week's low, this thing can run higher because it has a lot of range to recapture. Look, TDC, this is a strong tech company, mixed databases, Teradata. Outside bar. If this thing starts to blow up, right, it's coming back through there and back to this range again. And in this market, unless Teradata is somehow really failing on their execution or maybe somehow their products are falling behind, there's no reason to believe why Teradata will not fly back and play some catch up. Because here's a name that played some catch up this past week, not only this week but the past few weeks, is MDB. So MongoDB is another database company that for a while there it looks like it was why is it pulling back? Well, it could just been against simple supply demand dynamics. But now this past 2 weeks it's been up 9%. Yeah, last week up another 4% this week. So 12% plus percent. The earnings are coming up on the 31st. So on Monday got earnings. But again, this thing has been doing very well on the monthly chart. It kind of looks like a bit of consolidation because on the weekly chart you have a bit of chop, and yeah, so that's what it is. Look, inside month down. Now you break above August highs, that's an inside bar reversal to the upside from MongoDB. You can get to all-time highs very, very quickly on MongoDB. So looking for the same kind of thing, Teradata in the same industry here, how does that respond? Here's a couple of names, interesting ones. Vail. So, this is talking about your mining companies. Outside bar and down, but you might get the mobile down reversal right here if it breaks above this past week's high. Okay, and with a new week, a new month coming up, this may be with full time from alignment, so watching for that to play out, because some of these names, I think that could simply be a nice pullback situation there. Same with, Alcoa. See, double inside week. This one looks very interesting. Double inside week on Alcoa. When I'm already long at FCX, I've been long for a while. FCX, I've been long since here, and I got long again on that break there. So multi-week move on FCX. That thing is in multi-week highs, yearly highs for that matter. Nice week this past week, up by 9%. Are we gonna finally see a bottom in oil names? Let's see. Look, Valero here. Is that storm helping things? Well, possibly. Look, outside inside on the weekly chart. You do have that quarterly bar the quarterly open right there. That's a bit of a line of resistance, which is a bit iffy. You can totally short this thing if it breaks below that low right there. This past week's low, because then you have full time from alignment to the downside. We have I'll fast forward a bit because I talked about the Dow already, but you have some names like this, Cummins. So this thing has been doing gangbusters. CMI, all right. Look at that move on CMI. Wow, and possible inside bar reversal to the upside for a continuation move there for Cummins. And gold, we talked about how strong gold was already, right? Momo up. Well, look at GDX. Sorry, not Momo up, but the MGC we talked about earlier. It did have that possible inside bar reversal on the week, and we see the same thing across all the gold miners. So GDX, possible inside bar reversal. GDXJ, same thing, possible inside bar reversal. If you look at some of the actual individual names now, Franco-Nevada gold, right? Inside bar reversals possibly setting up there. Newmont, same sort of setup. This is what you like to see. This is what when you have a strong correlation between the underlying stocks and the indices, then you know there's a possible big move showing up there because they're all setting up, right? That's what we saw this past week with the tech space blow up. When we had the SaaS name, we had CRM pop. All the tech names that were set up, they all popped as well. So very conducive there for gold names. So if these things all break to the upside above this weekly high, yep, we're going higher on the gold names, and that was once again the buyable pullback in gold. All right, so let's talk about stars and dogs. Not easy to find dogs. Let's do with stars first. Let's first start with UPS. This thing has been on fire. Look at UPS. This thing has been going into multi-year highs on UPS there. Wow. Is that how? Let's go back a bit. That is a really strong chart. Wow. Look at UPS. That thing is at all-time highs. So, if you're into Dow theory, like I talked about last week, transports are acting very strong right now. UPS, that's it tells you FedEx is doing very, very well. That's a monthly chart. You can just imagine how strong that daily chart is going to be. That thing is a beast. It is flying. So people are going back into transports. First, solar. So solar companies, solar names doing very, very well with the storm down in Texas. So first solar hitting a multi-year highs. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it's multi-year highs. At least multi-year highs. Marvell, so the semiconductor space started to pick up. Marvell, look at this, nice move here. Multi-Momo down situation here, multi-day Momo down situation here. And they reversed it back to the upside again, taking out that pivot. Can you see the outs? Can you see the broad information? Can anyone see that? Look, that higher than that high, higher than that high, that low, lower than that low. So guess what? What's that going to look like? Yeah, it's going to be some sort of outside bar on some time frame. Now, Marvell, Workday. So yeah, I talked about the SaaS names already. Man, these things are working so well. SaaS names, cloud names, enterprise tech space. Workday, what a move on Friday, but it had a multi-day move here. So for the week, Workday up, man, I want to say over 15% easily. Yeah, 27% thereabouts for Workday. That means everything was working because CRM reported earlier in the week. They crushed it. They're going to be joining the Dow, so CRM doing really well. That means the rest of the cloud names, tech names, or enterprise software space, as well as SaaS players, they got involved. So, name them, they were flying. Team, another one that was doing well. HubSpot, name them, they were doing well. Oracle, that's the final name. Tech was, again, flying on all cylinders. You're seeing the greater and greater divide now between tech and non-tech. Tech names continue to rule the world. Oracle going to multi-week highs. This is the yearly highs now for Oracle, big tech company. Now, what's not working? Hard to find these names, but I did manage to dig up some. And interestingly, yes, the theme is that they seem to be around biotech. Biotech hasn't been working for a while, right? So I've been waiting for the IBB to actually reverse, but it has not shown that yet. I'm still watching it this week. Look at this name here, IBB, right? That's the ETF that tracks biotech names. It's a Momo down move, okay? So Momo down move. I'm waiting to see if and when this Momo down move reverses. If that does reverse, I wouldn't mind trying that for a bottom pick and then adding to that position as it moves back to the range again. So there's your Momo down on IBB, because a lot of these biotech companies have been getting hit. So biotech and just these just healthcare names. So look at XAS, EXAS. Wow, what a Momo down move on that one. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive days of selling, getting crushed. Don't know the reason. Don't care. NKTR, to be honest. All right, Nectar Therapeutics, also multi-week lows. Gilead Sciences, also not doing well. So let's see it here. Look at that. Right, that's not a nice chart considering tech is just flying to the highs. Here's a non-biotech name, Apron. So Blue Apron. So that's obviously a food company. Not executing well. This is just not a name that's you'd expect us to do well in the current work climate. In fact, they're not doing well as a red flag for Apron holders, stockholders. Not doing well here, hitting multi-week lows. And one final name that's not working well, SPCE. So the Virgin Galactic, whatever they're doing, could just be consolidation here. But right now they pulled back out of this big, wasn't a big, but it was a breakout that failed. Obviously, it's come back on the range again. So if you look at the monthly chart, it looks like so. Right, so look like a breakout. But now it's back on the range. It is an inside month, so they didn't give back all the gains, but certainly frustrating chart for folks inside of SPCE. This is an ugly chart. It's ugly because it's overlapping, right? So you see that. So you had a Momo up move. That's so on the broader time frames. That's Momo up. That's not extinguished yet. So, but it's playing out very slowly on a very high time frame chart, and that's the only chart that looks clean. This is an issue though. Right, you had this huge bar, and then you stayed inside of it, and then you had an upside break to the upside. It's not negated yet. You still have the quarter that's still above that, but yeah, this is not a great chart to look at. So that being said, that's how I analyze SPCE. I'm at the end of this week's video, so I just want to say I hope you enjoyed this week's video. As always, I appreciate all your time. This week's video did run a bit longer. We did cover a lot of stuff there, but as always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section on YouTube, or head over to the blog at thetradingedge.org. You can drop a line there. If you like the videos, give it a big thumbs up, smash that thumb button sign to help us get more viewers. And if you really like the videos, you can subscribe and be notified as soon as the videos drop, or you can head over to the blog, sign up for the newsletter, and I send out a weekly newsletter once a week, usually on Sunday, where I talk about or I share this video, and I also share some of my other trading perspectives on things that I'm looking at. So hope again you have a great trading week ahead. This week may be a slower one in the latter half of the week, with the Labor Day coming on the following Monday. So trade safe, trade well, and look forward to talking to you again next weekend. All the best.